like you rightly said, we just have to get it right as a nation to move forward. Cameron, the Prime Minister of Britain, said last year, he said, we will build UK out of recession. The only way our nation can get out of recession, economic recession, this problem of violence every day, is housing. The government of this nation, they are aware of that. We have told them severally, they are aware that put attention into housing production, you solve several problems. The MDG, the center of MDG is housing. And I always laugh. MDG focus on malaria, HIV, AIDS, slum development, and the nation just picked malaria aspect of it and started distributing net. Do you give a net to a man sleeping under the bridge? You can't use it.
Okay, but right now, the president says that Nigeria needs about 56 trillion naira to bridge that gap, which Dikko says might not really be what it is. It's just, well, maybe it's a little less than what we think, that 17 million units of housing units deficit. The president says about 56 trillion naira is needed. What's your take on that?
Yeah, the truth is that I told him while we were waiting that we frighten ourselves with sciences. And that's where we are today. I've been telling them in several conferences in the recent time that we do not have 17 million housing deficit.
And so we might not need as much as 56 trillion.
Yes. If we get our statistics right, or if we get our definition of deficit right, we can say we have 17 million deficit of United Nations standard houses. If we define our deficit, because the truth is that I quickly did a multiplication. 17 times 5, that's 85. 17 million times 5. An average household size in Nigeria today is 5. A man, the wife, 3 children. Times 17, that's 85 million. We are a nation of 160 million. And we are saying that 160 million. And we are saying that 85 million are living on the streets? No. They don't have anywhere they are living? No. But they have where they are living. Houses at PT2, houses at Ojota, houses at Cairo that have no accessible road, no basic infrastructure, were not captured as part of their national housing stock. So, if we were able to know that our deficit, if we define our deficit and say, look, substandard houses, we have 100 million. Then, the number of people that have no house, that are not living properly in slums and under the bridges, they need about 2 or 3 million. Then it becomes easier for us, because the amount of money you need to provide infrastructure on those houses that were not captured in the United Nations stock list, they are not as expensive as new built. It is not as expensive to provide house, to provide water, good road, to K2, and release these houses into the national housing stock. Okay,
so now that's where I think the private sector comes in. We have a lot of real estate companies and firms and who are coming into the market. Nigeria is a very, very ready market, and as you rightly said, a lot of people are migrating to the urban centers, which is the reason why we have a bigger need now for more houses in these places. But as much as these real estate agents come in, everybody wants to make a profit. We know that for a certainty. But when they come in and they build these houses, they charge so much, and they don't take into cognizance the fact that the minimum wage for an average worker in Nigeria is 18,000 naira. How will I, as a worker earning 18,000 naira, have the money to pay for a house, which at the end of the day comes up to what? Depends if I'm going to rent it, 1 million and above. How am I supposed to do that?
Well, the truth of the matter, as the professor has rightly pointed out, there's a lot of work for government to do in terms of the enabling environment, in terms of the Land Use Act, in terms of the way the Land Use Act is implemented. to get building approvals. These are some of the things the developers face. And in facing this, they pass on all these costs basically to the people purchasing the houses. In terms of the private sector as well, they have to be understand the market trends a bit more, but we have to understand that they face a very uncertain environment. So basically, you are paying the costs of the uncertainty, of the economic uncertainty, because all that is built into the prices of the house. Having said that, there's still a lot that the private sector can do in terms of efficiencies and even in terms of innovation. This year, we've seen certain developers coming up with very interesting payment plans. There's one which says rent to own. It says pay $250,000 a month, and then over a course of number of years, you
how do I pay $250 a month when I earn $18,000?
There's always a start. You see, when the model works for the 250, then there will be someone who would look for the 100,000, and then there will be the 50,000. You see, it won't just start like that, but we'll see these trends and we'll notice these trends. And what I'm expecting is that you would see a lot of innovation from the private developers in the coming years. Okay. Now, it's not going to be easy and it's not going to be direct. Now, for you who is interested in building a house, there's a lot to be done. At the risk of promoting my magazine, I would say a careful study of trends, because you see, if you don't have money, then you have to buck the trend. You need to buy in places which are relatively cheaper before development catches up in that area, which would mean you buy and you hold, right, and wait for development to catch up to that area. You possibly have to be a pioneer. Now, these are some of the things which, unfortunately, is not, you don't face these problems in the developed world, but this is the reality here.
We don't face the problem, well, in developed world. We are a developing economy, and then we know our needs. Now, we know that in developed countries, what obtains is that we have mortgage banks that actually give finance to people who want to purchase such properties, to buy a house for themselves. But how much of that has been encouraged here in our
just to quickly point out, even in the UK, there is even an issue with regards to paying the deposit. First timers are finding it difficult to get onto the property ladder, even in the UK. So we should point that out.
And so it's not something that is just synonymous with us alone.
Absolutely, because I think it's gone up from the usual 5% to like 10%, 15%, which they're not finding it easy to stump up. And so they've got what they call the bank of mom and dad, which basically your parents help you to fund the deposit, and you can now be paying the various payments. The government has intervened there with various schemes, trying to encourage the building of new homes and trying to help these people that cannot get on the property ladder. So obviously there we can see that government is also helping. But it's not that straightforward for you to say in developed countries you would automatically get a mortgage. It's not quite correct.
Okay, Dipo, hold on to that thought.